Hey guys everybody, welcome back to my channel. As you can tell from today's video, I am doing a get ready with me in which I transform into a completely different person. Now I know that makeup videos have been pretty common theme on my channel lately, and I'm not a beauty channel, I like to clarify that. But you know, I'm still stuck in quarantine and the only thing I can really film are makeup videos as of the moment. But I feel like this is a different kind of makeup video because all the other latest makeup videos I've been putting out are like kind of like the Instagram series tutorials. They're a bit more creative and editorial, and this is more of like me changing my whole entire features in terms of like makeup and hair and the whole outfit thing. So I'm gonna be transforming myself into a completely different person, and by that I mean I'm gonna be straightening my hair, adding in extensions, changing my eye color. So we're gonna transform from this ratchet ass mess to something a little bit more glam. But yeah, in addition to just get ready with me, I decided to do another story time because I think people really like my story time content, and you know, I'm full of crazy, insane stories that will probably get me arrested, but anything for entertainment. So without further ado, let's get right into this get ready with me. Okay, so the first step I want to do for this get ready with me is makeup. But before we can get into makeup, I want to do contacts. I'm using the Air Optic colors in Icy Blue. And the inspiration for this look is basically the little icy eyes filter from Instagram. But the reason why I decided to make this a get ready with me instead of a makeup tutorial is because I feel like this makeup look is kind of basic. It's not really exactly editorial creative like the last few Instagram makeup tutorials that have been that I've done inspired by Instagram filters. Sorry, I'm dumb. But yeah, so this whole look is pretty much inspired by the little icy blue eyes makeup tutorial. Sorry for the people who are freaked out by things getting put into eyes. But yeah, that's the contacts in. They have power in them because I'm blind, but you can get non-powered colored contacts from anywhere that sells them. You just do a quick Google search, but these ones are really good for people who are like me, a little bit visually impaired. Now this is kind of bluish gray, more gray in the camera, but I promise you they're blue. They're more blue in real life. But yeah, so the inspiration for this look is low icy blue because that filter changes your whole face. It kind of snatches your whole face. It gives you that foxy eyes, super thin down contoured nose, and super contoured cheeks, which I hope will transform my entire face from flat to snatched. I'm just trying to get another refresher of how this filter look. There's an emphasis of really like flared out lashes, contoured eyes, contoured cheeks, and a tiny ass nose contour. Like it's very emphasis on a tiny like bridge, so that will be exciting to replicate. I think there's also some freckles, so we're also going to need to do some faux freckles. But yeah, well, it's been a hot minute since I've put on makeup, so I'm super excited to do this. First thing first is brows. Mine kind of look terrible right now because my mom over plucked them and they're uneven as well, so great. But that's fine because even though they're uneven, they kind of give me more to work with, and that way I can kind of shape them any way I like. Okay, I'm gonna do my brows off camera because I'm insecure about how I do my brows and I don't want any of you guys coming for me in the comments. So I'm gonna go do them off camera and then check back in with you guys. So I just did my brows really quickly. Drew them in with the Anastasia Dip Brow Pro Mate. You guys know that I love this. Been using it since forever. And then I'm gonna carve it out with the NARS Creamy Concealer in the shade Meringue Glaze. I don't know how to say it correctly. Don't come for me. I don't think this get ready with me should be really focused on technique because this is more, I feel like I want it to be more of a story time. So I'm not gonna stop and like explain to you how I'm doing a thing or anything. You can just kind of watch me do it, I guess. So this story time is about all the times I kind of snuck out in high school to go out, and yeah, just basically me exposing myself for being a shit like high school kid when I was 16 to 17, and then 16 to 18. Yeah, I was a shitty kid. Like, I was just the worst kind of teenager. And honestly, I give props to my parents for raising me because I was not an easy child. I mean, I was an easy child when I was little. Like, I was easier than my sister, my mom would say. Like, I was always obedient, did everything, like, super big sister. And then when I was 16, it just went on downhill from there. And now my sister's the angel child, and I'm literally the spawn of Satan. But yeah. So, to preface the story about how I started sneaking out to go party and drink and do shit, I want to start off by saying that I need to give some context to the story because you kind of need to know what I was like in order to become that person. So, I'm going to be honest with you and just start off by saying that I wasn't really cool in middle school or elementary school. I was kind of like bullied and neglected, and no one wanted to be my friend at all until middle school. And then when I started having friends in middle school, I wasn't friends with the right people, if you get what I mean. I was a geek. Like, I read books, I wrote fan fiction, I was what you call kind of a loser. And even though I don't think there's anything wrong with doing all of that stuff, I think writing fan fiction is good. Like, I still write on Wattpad. I just think that the people of the school that I was going to thought that was uncool, and they made fun of me for it, and they bullied me, and they see, I lose track of I'm trying to focus on two things at once, and that's why I'm like a little bit dumb right now. But yeah, they just didn't like me. I always had issues growing up with getting along with people from my grade and people from my age. I had issues a lot socially at school. I was really good academically. Like, I was always a strong reader, always a strong writer. I was wasn't amazing at math, but I was okay. So I've always been great academically throughout my schooling life, but socially I just struggled really, really hard. Not that I think that makes me special. I think every single buddy had their own like schooling troubles, but if it wasn't, I think that getting bullied at such a young age and just carrying that throughout my high school, I wouldn't have become the person that I was today. So yeah, to give you a preface to the story, I wasn't a cool kid. I was socially awkward. I didn't like all the right things. Like I said, I was a geek. I was into writing Harry Potter and Percy Jackson fan fiction. I was fat as well. Like, not saying that I'm skinny now, but I was a really fat kid when I was younger. So, yeah, I lost the weight when I was back in 14, so that was like 8th, 9th grade, and that's when things start to change a little bit, when I started becoming friends with a girl who is still my best friend to this day, and her name is Iris. That's pretty much the preface to the story. I didn't have a lot of good friends, I was really lonely, and then I became friends with a girl named Iris, who pretty much had the ends to all the cool kids' world. So me and Iris, she was the new kid at my school. So the school that I went to was an international school in Malaysia. And if you don't know what that means, it's basically like a school for expats, basically. Kids who want an international education in a country that doesn't necessarily speak English. So in Malaysia, the main language is Malay, but really there's 3 races, Malaysian, Chinese, and Indian, but everyone kind of like Malaysian Chinese. I'm Malaysian Chinese. But yeah, so the national language of Malaysia is Malay, and the local schools don't exactly teach English. And my parents, at this time when I moved to the school, I was, I think, 11 or 12, and basically, I had moved from New Zealand. I spent a year in New Zealand, and my parents moved here because of moved to Malaysia because of my dad's job. But my parents wanted me to still go to a school that was similar to the New Zealand education system. So I decided to go to the school. I'm not going to name it because I don't want a cease and desist letter, but pretty much I went to an international school, and basically a lot of the kids that went to the school have money. I got lucky because my dad's job, his company, they paid for it, so I'm not wealthy, but I am lucky. It's just a really expensive way to get an international education. There's American systems, British systems, Australian, Canadian, and yeah, I went to an international school, pretty much. I hated it, every minute of it, but I am grateful for the opportunities it gave me. Like, if it wasn't for that school, I wouldn't have been able to read as well as I can, write as well as I can. I was given the best resources anyone could possibly ask for, but did I hate it? Every minute of it? Yes, I did. One of the greatest people I've met there was my friend Iris. And so, to preface the story, my troubles began with Iris. And honestly, it didn't start out that way. Me and Iris actually weren't friends when we first met. So she came to my school in like year 10. And we weren't friends. We weren't close friends, but we were good friends. We were in one class together. We were in Malay together. And she was always kind of like my buddy in Malay in that class. And on year 10 camp, she didn't have a roommate. So I roomed with her, and we just had a good time. Like, we laughed and stuff like that. But for some reason, we just never ever really hung out ever again. But we would say hi when we passed each other in the hallways. We kind of knew each other. And even though she knew that I hung out with the kids that were quote-unquote the weird ones, she never really exactly judged me or like ostracized me just the way how the other kids in my grade would. The first time I ever snuck out was, I think it was during the summer holidays between the year 10 and year 11. I lived in this apartment called Seni, and it was in this neighborhood called Mont Kiara, and pretty much she was at a party that was near Seni. It was just right next door to it. And I think this was like 1 or 12 in the morning. And pretty much what happened was that she realized that it's right next to Seni, and she knew that was where I lived. And she texted me like, "Hey, oh my god, I'm actually at a party just right next to your apartment." And I'm like, "Oh, that's so cool." She's like, "You want to join?" And this is like 12 a.m. My parents are asleep. People are going to bed, and I was still awake because I think I was watching TV or something. And I thought to myself, do I want to go? Can I go? And that's when I decided to take a complete fucking risk. I'm insane. Like, this is how you know I'm fucking insane. Like, I have no sense of, like, fear. I don't know what possessed me yet, but I just did it. So I just, put on some clothes, change out of my pajamas, run out of my apartment, and just join Iris at this party. It was a really lame party. I didn't even really drink. I think I had one vodka mango something, but I didn't drink. And I just joined her at the party. And that's basically when that was the beginning of the end. Like, I started becoming a bad kid. And that party was a bust. Like, it was a lame fucking party. And we just ended up going to her friend Robin's house to just hang out and chill and eat and drink and just, chill out. I remember telling Iris, "Yo, this is my first time doing anything like this. I snuck out of my house." She was like, "What the fuck? That's insane." And that's pretty much the beginning of the end. That's when I realized that I could get away with it. And like I said, like I think I came home from that party or like from that outing at like 4 a.m. and no one noticed I was gone. Like, it was almost insanely easy how easy it was to sneak out. And I didn't really get drunk that time. I didn't even do anything. But like I said, completely, it baffled me how easy it was. And so that's when I started thinking, I can do this again. Now, to kind of preface you to how strict my parents are not like super strict anymore. Well, they kind of have to not be because I push so much boundaries with them that they kind of have to realize that they can't always control me, and they realize that they had to kind of like lessen the reins and make me make my own mistakes in order to teach me things, because I'm one of those people who won't learn a lesson that that's a bad thing to do until I've been taught a lesson in the hardest way possible. So my parents are the type of parents who, I remember the first time I ever tried to went to like a gig or like went out, they completely shut me down. It was Iris actually who invited me to I think a rave, but I didn't even know what a rave exactly was at the time because I was such an innocent little bean. All I did was read and write and chilled. So like I said, I did exactly the first time I ever did try to go out. I told my parents, I don't know, I think I told my parents I wanted to sleep over at Iris's house, but Iris was telling her parents that she wanted to sleep at my house, and it was just a big failure. I ended up not going, and my parents completely banned me, and also I think I got my wisdom tooth taken out that the day before, and I couldn't go. Pretty much I just couldn't go, and that's pretty much the end of it for me. Like, that's when I realized that I couldn't exactly go out. So that's when I realized that my parents are not gonna ever let me go out late at night with friends, and that's why I started sneaking out. And you saw me tell you how easy it was to just walk out of my apartment when my parents are sleeping completely unnoticed. It's also because the way how my apartment is, you need a key card to kind of go in everywhere, and I had a key card of my own. I kind of have to because if not, I wouldn't be able to get into the apartment at all. So that's number one. Like, it didn't use any locks or keys. It was a card, and that card was just so easy to bring around and come in and come out. So my parents didn't even find out about me sneaking out of the house until I think 3 months into this whole sneaking out thing. That's another story that I'm gonna tell. I'm gonna tell you about the first time I snuck out and then got really, really drunk. And it was still to this day, one of the best nights I've ever lived through. But looking back in retrospect, as an adult, like as a 21-year-old, considering how young I was only like 15, 16, I could literally say, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, that was so unsafe.
Honestly, I don't remember. I was probably fucked up. I was crazy back then.
So this night, I think, was maybe the second or third, maybe even the fourth time I snuck out. And it was for a birthday party that Iris wanted to go, but she wanted me to come along. A lot of these stories in high school involve Iris, who my parents think is the devil's spawn. Like, but I love this bitch to the end of my life. I love you, BB, if you're watching. So Iris invited me to this birthday party of a girl we know. Well, now I know her, but at the time I didn't. Her name is Maddie, and Maddie was I think at the time she was turning 17, which is kind of concerning because she was hosting her birthday party at a club who knew she was 17 but still served her alcohol. This kind of gives you an insight on how Malaysian carding law works. Well, or at least used to work. Now they're a lot more strict. But when I was a teenager, wow, I am dating myself. When I was a teenager, it was surprisingly easy to just kind of get around it. Like, the insane amount of kids that would get away with just going out drinking at underage was insane. So yeah, Malaysian carding laws are really, really loose. So we went to this birthday party, which is hosted at this club that at the time me and Iris loved. Like, when me and her just started going out, we loved this place called Red Room. I went there I think last year, or no, beginning of this year. Did we go? I don't know. It was either one of either the last time I went back to Malaysia or the second last time I went back to Malaysia. Either way, it's still a club that exists. It's called Red Room. And at the time, it was just a really brand new club that just opened at this place called Trek, which used to be brand new, but now it's kind of like overrun with kids that are underage, and that's why I don't go there anymore. And too many people I know. Disgusting. Disgusting! Just kidding. I don't mean that. But yeah, now it's overrun with kids I know. But at the time, this was still a really hip and new place. You know what I sound like? I realize I sound like grandma recounting all her tales to like her hip grandchildren, and me trying to convince them that I used to be the shit. I wasn't, but you know what I mean. So at the time, Red Room was new, and we went and we loved it. The interior, everything. It's very like Brooklyn in the 90s, and very neon and vibey. I hate that word, vibey, but I'm gonna use it because that's kind of the right word for it. So this is where Iris starts to introduce me to her world of going out, clubbing, partying hard, and introduce me to her friends who were also like that. And you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I loved it. Like, I could say, I regretted it. Like, it was a bad choice. Bad decisions. Don't do it, kids. But honestly, don't do it. Don't drink underage. Don't go out. But I gotta say that was the time of my life. The fucking hot mess, but I had the time of my life. And you know what? At the end of the day, that's what really matters. You have a great, good time. So, Maddie was one of the first people from Iris's world that I started to meet. You know, it was all these people who went out and drink and basically just live life like they're young, euphoria style. And I remember the first time I was being introduced to like all this drinking and stuff. And I've drank before going out. Like, my parents always allowed me to have a glass of wine or what is it, like a cocktail once in a while. Like, my parents loved to drink, and so they were introducing me to drinking a little bit at the time, but never like this in a adult unsupervised environment at a club with people my age. At this party, what happened was, I remember Maddie ordered like 50 Jaeger bombs. I think it was on the house because it was her birthday celebration, which is just a crazy enough sentence, and it is because she was celebrating her 17th birthday. And yeah, I think I made out with like 4 guys in that party alone. I remember my outfit, which was so sad. Because I asked Iris, what should I wear? And she's like, something nice. So I wore a long ass black skirt with a blue crop top.
What was I thinking?
But you know what? We evolve and we change, and now I dress much better for a girl. But yeah, that was the first time I've seriously gone out. And I remember it being so funny because we went out, we drank, I was fucked. Me and Iris snuck back to my place for her to crash, and I remember sneaking her into my house, and it was the best of time and the worst of time. Like, this is the start of Iris and Valerie sneaking into my apartment from a night out at like 5, 6 a.m. Like, this was my favorite moment, and I remember this barely because I remember I was still like drunk, but I remember coming home from this night out, and me and Iris, like, in our going out clothes, smelling like smoke and alcohol. And the Uber driver just asking us, going for a run? And we're like, I get that it's 6 a.m., but do you see the state of us, sir? We're not going for a run. We were going home at a time where people were, like I said, going for runs, going for jogs, and we stumbled back in our high heels and makeup and just crashed. And that was pretty much it for us. That's when we started, like, acting out. And boy, were my parents not proud. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the story of how basically I started getting caught for sneaking out and that whole ass mess. And why I was literally insane and my parents are a godsend for dealing with my ass. So the story basically happened because Iris was sleeping over at my house. It was the semester 1 holidays, and I think I wanted to go out. And I remember we were both like so broke, we had no money to go out. And I remember we were just rustling through all of my jacket bag collection, looking for like spare change, like $50 that would just give us the green light to go out. And I remember we were just turning in every single pocket, going through every single corner and cranny in my room to search for like money. That's how broke we were. Okay, I'm gonna go put on lashes. I'm gonna do this off camera and then I'll come back and tell you the story. God, I hate putting on lashes, but I love how they make me look. Now, these aren't as dramatic as how the lashes look and the filter, but they kind of give the same, like, cat-eye, foxy effect. I managed to scrounge up enough money to finally go. And we went out, and I think I remember where we went out. It was Zook, and it was ladies' night. And the thing about ladies' night in Malaysia is that it is like where girls get a lot of free drinks and free shit, pretty much, for just being themselves. And I remember this night so clearly because we got served sushi at Zook for ladies' night. I don't know if that deal's available anymore. Probably not, because this was like like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Yeah, like I remember this night because we went to go get sushi at Zook and we were drinking champagne, and I got so drunk. To kind of express to you how drunk I got, it would be incredible, because I was champagne drunk and I didn't eat much, and on top of that I remember people just giving me champagne and champagne and champagne, and I was mixing it, and you should never mix your liquor because that's basically a danger zone area to getting extremely fucked up. And that's when my parents started calling me. Yeah. But I was just so drunk that I couldn't be bothered answering, that I just completely didn't answer, and then I had to throw up. And that night I spent, I think, 2 hours, from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. throwing up all the alcohol before eventually sobering up so that I could be sober enough to face my parents when I get home. And boy, did I get yelled at. And I felt bad because this was the night before my dad was going on a reunion trip with his friends to Vietnam, and he'd leave in the morning for the flight, and here I was making him wake up at 4, like, I think this was, I don't know, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, to yell at me because I've been making him worry sick for like 3 straight hours about where I am. I was literally the devil's child. Like, what's wrong with me? Like, who does that? So yeah, this is the story of how you find out I'm a complete psychopath, pretty much. So I got yelled at, screamed at my parents. My parents just kind of like wondered why, because, you know, they were just baffled at how I managed to get away with it. How could I afford going out when my allowance was this, and this? How could I afford, like, just doing that and maintaining my grade? Because mind you, I was still like a really good student at the time. I was actually doing better than I've ever had before, which is the irony of the statement. But yeah, my parents yelled at me, and I remember my mom was just like, of course you were out drinking. My mom is kind of like, I don't know, it's hard to explain my mom because she's tough love, but at the same time she's like the coolest mom in the world. And my dad ended up leaving the next day to go to Vietnam with his friends. And then literally my mom was just like, I want to see how you party. Can you take me out? And so yeah, after the night that I got caught sneaking out and was too drunk to come home, throwing up for 2 hours, my mom said to me, can I take her out? Insane, I know. That's pretty much the story of how I got caught and how I became a psychopath. So that pretty much concludes the story there. I have plenty of more stories of like me sneaking out and being a fuckhead, and with no regards of my own personal safety, and now looking back and surprised I'm still kind of alive. But yeah, so that's the story of how I got caught. And honestly, I got caught because it was just bound to happen. Don't ever sneak out. Be good to your parents. All that jazz. But also note that sometimes you can lead to you having some of the best time of your life. And honestly, those times were kind of like the golden years. Well, I can't fake the little tip and how skinny the bridge is because I have naturally a pretty big nose. I think it comes pretty close, and there's some highlight. You might run the risk of looking oily, but it's just on your nose, so it's fine. A little bit on the cupid tip. That pretty much concludes the makeup. Now it's time to straighten my hair. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Okay, so I just finished straightening my hair, already looking very different. Honestly, I like this length for my hair. I'm not sure if I should keep it this way, my natural hair. Or should I just kind of let it grow longer? Like, I love this cut, but anyway, we're gonna put some extensions in right now. These are from AliExpress. They're ratchet as fuck, cheap as fuck, but they work. Yeah. I'm gonna go put them on and then I'll come back and let you guys see how I look with them. So the extensions are in and I put on my outfit. This is a bodysuit from ASOS. I love it, honestly. The pants, I can't tell you yet because that is for a haul video that is coming out really soon. Just, you know, things need to get here first. I love these hair extensions. They aren't supposed to look super good. Well, not look super good. They look good for the price you pay for them. Like, these look like $9 extensions, you know, which is kind of the vibe I'm going for. Like, I want to look kind of like white trash. But yeah, I love this look. Honestly, I think this is one of my favorite makeup looks to wear of all time. I think it's just a good way to look really sexy and put together without really trying. It's a good look to wear out on a night to dinner or even the club, dare I say. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this story time. This is basically me telling you how I became a fucking psychopath. But yeah, comment, like, subscribe. Tell me what videos I should film next. Click the notification bell for more, and see you guys next time.